you think women can do? I mean, clearly the men have the problem, right? But I mean, what are some strategies I think for women scientists when, they feel like those things are happening, or for young women who want to go into the sciences, because it can be intimidating with these, you know, male professors being, what they can be like. So
Yeah. And I think sometimes, from what I've heard, they don't like women in science don't get the same respect as their male counterparts. And so I think when that is seen, you need to try and say something or figure out who your allies are and speak up. And I know that can be really, really hard, but that would be something that I would say from what I've seen.
Yeah, I feel like I've definitely experienced some of that at my, like, when I've been working, I've worked with a lot of male colleagues, and I think it was a mix of like ageism also, perhaps, because people would go to my colleagues instead of me to ask questions that I could answer too. And that was really frustrating to me. I was like, I have that answer, like, and sometimes the person they're going to doesn't even have the answer, and it was a challenge. I was like, I need some gray hair or something like that, or I don't know. I guess that's a whole other topic too, but I think it was in combination with being a woman as well. But of course, these things are so tricky because it can be so subtle. You don't really know sometimes why something does or doesn't happen, and that's why it's so challenging to address. Yeah, but I think what Lana said, I agree. Like, you have to be strong. You can just mention, I don't know, Georgia or Caroline. You guys want to chip in on that?
Yeah, I mean, as much as is possible, I try to scout these things out a little bit ahead of time. Like in terms of the climate at where I'm going to be working or the lab I'm going to be working in. But of course, that stuff always crops up a little bit. And other than that stuff, it's always just I don't have any good strategy for dealing with it. It's just it happens in the moment. And luckily, I've had, male colleagues around me who have actually done a good job of stepping in and helping, like if I'm there with my male assistant and someone assumes that he's the one in charge of the project, they go, oh no, I'm just the assistant. Georgia's in charge. And then it's been really helpful. So to the guys in the audience, if you could help us out with that type of thing, it would be great.
We glitched a little.
Yep.
Or I glitched. I don't know who glitched. All right, before we head out, I just want to say that to everyone that there is a coin sale. So make sure you buy coins to give to broadcasters to show them how much you appreciate them. There's so much great content happening here on HAPS and a lot of heart and soul and passion that's put into the broadcast on this platform. So take advantage of that sale while you can before the promotion and opportunity expires to get those coins to give to your favorite broadcasters. So, all right. Thank you, Eliana, and thank you, Georgia and Caroline, and thank you also, Revolution, too, for joining today and talking about this topic. And hopefully, Eliana and Caroline and Georgia will see you around HAPS more in the future, too. Great.
Yeah. Thanks for having us. Thanks, everyone in the audience. Thanks, HAPS.
Yeah. And welcome, Alexis. Take it over. Yeah.
Bye. Thanks, Isabel. Interesting about going from bugs to food. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Alexis. I'm an independent consultant for Pampered Chef, and I live here in Southeast Coastal Georgia, and I do food scopes. Okay. Usually Monday through Friday at about 6:30 in the morning. I skipped this morning, but I'm going to still try and get back into 6:30. I do have 3 other people to be invited. One is Tiffany C. Everett. The other one is Deanna D. And also Monica Flores. So if you see them, we need to invite them in. I'm not sure. I don't see them coming in yet. I think Tiffany said do I come in landscape? You can come in any way you want, Tiffany. So anyway, our topic for International Women's Day is who are your 3 women you admire? 3 women that you admire. And I actually came up with a few more than 3. But long time ago, let's see if we can get anybody else in here. A long time ago in high school, I had to do a report on 3 women that I admire most. And it was Mary Queen of Scots. Also, I'm trying to think of Eva Peron, which was Evita, if you saw that. And then also Scarlett O'Hara. Now, she is a fictional character, but I loved these ladies because they were very determined in what they wanted to get done in life. Okay, they were very they didn't take no for an answer. Okay, so those are some of the things. Hello, Peter. Hello, how are you doing? Hello, Gary. Everybody's in the house. Invited all three of them. Okay. Thank you, HAPS people. I don't see them, but we just keep going. If anybody else wants to come in, just raise your hand and then let us know that you want to come up and give us 3 women that you admire in the world. It could be past, present, or right now. Okay, present. All right. So those are some of the 3 that I did when I was in high school. Now, after high school, you get into the real world, and you're like, all right, who else do you admire? All right. One of the persons that I admire is Betty White. Everybody loves Betty White. Like Betty White can do no wrong, right? And let me see. Is there anybody else here? Are they here yet? I'm doing the whole broadcast here. So Betty White is one of the people that I currently admire, because she actually started later in life getting her being famous. She started young, but she was actually married to the match guy. I forgot his name, but anyway, she became more famous in the Golden Girls and stuff like that. No, they have not arrived, says Revolution Man. Okay, I don't see them yet. I know I talked to all 3 of them earlier today, and I did confirm it was 7:30 East Coast time, and they're all on the East Coast, except for Monica's over at 6:30. And there is Tiffany. Tiffany, thanks for rescuing me. All right, Tiffany's at work. Tiffany is down in Florida, and she likes to broadcast also, and she's into health and fitness. And Tiffany, let us know what you like to scope, and introduce yourself, and 3 ladies you admire.
Well, my name is Tiffany C. Everett, and I love hanging out with you guys on the HAP app. I go live weekly, and I help moms kick chaos to the curb with super simple strategies to help you get your business, your life, and everything in sync. And also have a company called Z Expressions, and we provide work from home opportunities to families who need how to, be able to work. I know in the pandemic, it's definitely super awesome to be able to do that and being able to bring in a second income. Also, we also provide resources to families who have hydrocephalus. So if you know someone that has hydrocephalus and they're trying to navigate, this thing, and just feel free to have them reach out to me. So we do that. And I'm a real estate agent here in Florida. So I have a lot of things going on, but I'm so happy to be able to be here with you this evening on International Women's Day. How was your day today?
Mine was great.
Okay, what'd you do? Tell us. Tell me. I missed the first part.
I actually made sloppy joes earlier. We ate all of them, all the entire half a pound that I made. I made a very small quantity because I live here only with my mom, and I don't want to do too many leftovers because then I can't scope food for y'all. So I did that. I had 2 meetings back to back. One was on International Women's Day with Pampered Chef, and the other one was accountability meeting. So that was quite a lot right there. And I still have one more meeting this evening with my team at 8:00. So I'm back to back tonight.
Oh my gosh, I love sloppy joe. Only I haven't had it in a while. The sauce is the key.
Yes. Yeah. Actually, you don't. I put too much Tabasco sauce in it, but you can make it without the Tabasco sauce. It's made with ketchup, but you can actually use tomato paste if you don't want all that sugar or sodium in from the ketchup. Okay. And if you don't like meat, then you can always use jackfruit.
Jackfruit, really?
Okay.
I've never tried it with jackfruit. Yeah. I have tried with turkey, because turkey's a little lighter than the beef. So I've tried.
That's what I made today. Yeah, but if you want a vegetarian, you can go with the jackfruit. It has this shredded feel of meat in there. All right. So who are 3 people or ladies that you admire? You can give a long time ago, recent, or current.
Okay, so my grandmother is the reason why I'm a real estate agent right now. And she inspired me so much. She always uplifted me. She was a go-getter. She never let things stopped her from reaching her goal, which was to have investment properties. You know, she's such a phenomenal woman, such a phenomenal woman. She definitely inspired me in every way. The another person was my mom. My mom, she continues to push us. You know, I remember when we were really young, one of the things that she used to have us do a lot was to be involved in different activities. So I was we would have every Easter we would be involved in like a Easter pageant. So she would get us all dolled up in pretty clothes and get our hair done really nicely, and then we would go and take family pictures. And you know, she was that, you know, the glue that kept all of us together, and she always pushed us to always be our best. Okay, and then let's see, the third person would be a friend of mine. Her name is Cynthia, and she's awesome. She's a bold woman of God, and she's also does taxes, and she owns a hair salon, and she's just always finding a way to make it happen and be an awesome support in the community. So those are my inspirations.
Okay. All right. So Monica's been invited in. So Monica, you may see an invite either on your computer, or you may have to go out and go into the notifications to see the invite from there. All right. So Tiffany, tell us, do you have anybody that is non-family related or personally related to you that you actually like admire from like history or current events?
History and current events. I would say the Obamas. Michelle, oh my gosh, she's amazing. And the way that she reached out to the community, she's well poised. You know, I just love everything that, you know, what she stands for and what she does for her family. And as a wife, you know, in my opinion, I think that she would be the one that would stand out for me.
And let's see, did Monica find us in yet? I don't see. And Revolutionary Madness actually left the scene right there to invite people in. Peter is working on it, says Revolutionary Man. Okay.
Hey,
So,
Peter.
All right. So we talked earlier today, Tiffany, regarding some allergies, right?
Yeah.
And how important allergies are for people to understand. Tell us about your experience on allergies.
Oh my gosh. So for me, as you know, I've done some food videos here on the HAPS app, and everything I cook is gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, shellfish-free, unless I'm cooking some shrimp for my son because that's one of his favorites, but I can't have it. And so I find that it was a challenge to you know, for me, the most difficult part was name brands, right? So as a child, you're brought up on different name brands of types of foods to buy. So you go into the store looking for those specific brands. And then once you transition to, for me, gluten-free and dairy-free, it's like, oh my gosh, now how do I eat macaroni and cheese without eating cheese? That was one of my favorite. Like, how do I eat a pizza without cheese? Like, how do you do that? You know, and then so for me, it was just finding, you know, you were just talking about making the food that you cook tonight, you know, and so for me, I would just be cognizant of the ingredients that I put in there. And that's what I learned. It's more about, you can still eat the same foods, sort of, kind of. It's just more about what you're putting in it as far as the ingredients. So like you can cook bread, you just cannot use wheat, you know, the gluten bread, but you can use like coconut flour, you know, other types of flour to be able to create that same, but then you need to put something, you know, something to keep it together, like guar gum, or, you know, I haven't perfected that whole thing yet. But it all comes down to the ingredients that you put in it,
Right.
and that's what
And the
can
more
either
basic
hurt
we can
you
use,
or
right, and the more basic that we can do, eating around the perimeter of your grocery store versus going down the aisles, because you have a soy allergy, which is my Bryce's girlfriend has a soy allergy, and I'm afraid if she ever came here, I would probably kill her because I think everything has soy in it. It was like, look at it. But we were talking about how cross contamination is very dangerous.
yeah.
That tell us about your cross contamination while we're waiting for Monica to find us here.
Yeah, so regarding that part, because at one point my son was eating traditional food. I call it traditional, but I guess traditional is different depending on who was saying it. I say it to be non-gluten foods. And then I realized for me it's my skin, and so my skin breaks out really bad with psoriasis when I eat anything. It's a trigger for me. What I do is I got rid of everything. There's nothing in the house that has gluten in it or eggs or any of those types of things. And I got rid of I didn't get rid of it or throw it away. I gave it to someone that would appreciate it. And so when I travel with my own utensils. I travel with my own pots and pans.
And tell us why that is. Why would you travel with your own fork, plate, and pots and pans?
Well, of course, if you eat at a restaurant, I try to make sure that I have a great conversation with the chef when it comes to those kinds of things. But if I'm on the road and staying at hotels and things like that, it's just a whole lot easier because I know that my products don't have any gluten in them. So that's why I primarily do it.
Okay, but I think what we're trying to get is that when you cook and somebody has an allergy and it's like, oh, they have an allergy, but say they're allergic to strawberries, because a lot of people are allergic to strawberries. If I was to be cooking here with strawberries and then somebody says, oh, I have an allergy to strawberries, if I did not sanitize and like bleach my countertops, the essence of that strawberry, if I forgot to wipe a spot, could actually be very detrimental to that person that has that allergy. So there are different levels, like anaphylactic shock type allergies versus, oh, I just get hives or my tongue swells up. There's all different types of allergies and reactions to them. So it doesn't matter if you have a little allergy or a big allergy, but the big ones are like, you need the EpiPen around you all the time. And do you have an EpiPen also, since you are pretty allergic?
No, because I don't have that type. It doesn't affect me in the way that it would hurt my throat or anything like that. But more so just my skin.
Yeah. And how long, I think we lost or froze. How long is your allergy from when you taste something and you get it to when it goes away? How long can that be?
So if I come across something that has gluten in it, it takes at least 6 months for my skin to heal from it. And then once it affects the skin, then it takes at least a year to a year and a half to get that complexion back.
Wow. I would definitely stay away from the gluten. That's
You got it.
Wow. How many times have you accidentally OD'd on the gluten thing?
Well, how many times have I had accidentally eaten something? I mean, just recently, as a matter of fact, there were some vitamins that I was taking in. When I last looked at the label, it didn't have dairy in them. But then that was last year when I bought one. And then I did it again this year. And apparently they've changed some of the ingredients, and that one had dairy in it. So right now I'm going through that process. Trying to, that healing process when it comes to that, because like I said, it takes at least about 6 months.
All right, so Molly here says, I discovered that pizza is good without cheese. Then sliced mushrooms work great. Okay.
Yeah.
Click on the title here, and then you may start your own broadcast. Okay. All right. All right. Peter is working with Monica. Monica's never scoped before, broadcast before. So she's having problems. And I don't know where Dee is. Dee's probably having dinner. She's what she said, that she was try and make it in. And I appreciate you coming in and filling in here. But please follow both of us. Okay, follow Tiffany C. She's always working out. She's actually over on Facebook. I see her more on Facebook than here. What time do you normally broadcast? Do you have a consistent time or times that you like to broadcast?
Mostly for the workout videos. Those are mostly done in the morning times is when I do those. And then when it comes to like real estate or I also do some role plays, you know, or just talking about business in general, then those are kind of like sporadic. But I want to say for the most part, when I'm broadcasting from the HAPS is usually in the morning times when I'm going live.
Okay.
So you can catch me there. And turn on your notifications.
Okay, so one thing for everybody that's broadcasting, all right, pre-schedule your broadcast if you can. And then that way people know that you're going to go live. Even if you're going to be 15 minutes late, pre-schedule it, or 15 minutes early. Just go ahead and say, hey, I'm scoping at 6:30 in the morning, and put a little title in there. The title only is 50 characters long, so you have to watch that title because it cuts you off after 50 characters. All right. Let me say I'm so good. I feel a bit queasy.
Someone said I like the hat. Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's her signature look, isn't it? Your hat, because I see you wear it a lot.
It that way, right?
You're making it, yeah. Like my apron is my signature look, and people say, "Oh, you're without your apron. Who are you?" You know. Good tips for HAPS broadcasting. Yes. So, and another thing is, if you are going broadcasting and you have, say, you're on Messenger and you have a lot of friends on Messenger that watch you either on Periscope or HAPS, you can actually make a list and do a Messenger list. And then just send them a message with your title in it right before you go live. And then that way you can get your followers right into your broadcast in the beginning. So they know, like, when they get that message, you're going live within 5 minutes, or they can go back and watch the replay. So that's another way of getting broadcasters into your or viewers into your broadcast. Okay. Mm-hmm. Did you know that, Tiffany? You have a list of people that you want to send out automatically, and they're like your diehards that want to know when you go live. Whether it's, and I send it whether I'm going live on Periscope, HAPS, Facebook, I send it to them. All right.
This is all good in the go live. It's like Florence maybe.
I was big. They're talking about the cheese still.
Oh.
I know with Weight Watchers. Cheese is not good for you.
Well, okay, so for cheese, let's talk about cheese since we want to talk about cheese. All right, let's talk about cheese. So the cheese that I use is made out of chickpeas. Okay. And so what I've learned from it though is, like, for example, I like to eat grits, right? So when you use the cheese, it needs heat in order for it to actually melt. You know, sometimes you can take the food off the stove and you can put the cheese on it and it'll still melt. Well, this cheese is a little bit different. It needs direct heat in order for it to actually melt. So I'll just sprinkle it while I'm cooking. Or, you know, I could be sauteing some chicken. I'll sprinkle some of it in there. I can be making my grits. I'll sprinkle some in there. And you just stir it up and it just melts and it tastes so good.
Someone else asked, have you ever tried coconut cheese on your pizza?
Ooh, no. I have not. I didn't even know there was a
there was either. Okay. Okay, chickpea cheese, coconut cheese, soy milk cheese. Well, we have no soy on there because I have no soy. If you add nutrient yeast to it, cooking it adds great flavor. I also thought
it does. I have some nutritional yeast.
You can do an Alfredo sauce using, I do believe, cashew nuts, and make your cashew cream from there. Hey, there's Monica. All right.
All right, Monica.
Did I get on?
I am doing a live here on the HAPS app. I thank you guys so much for joining me. You can feel free to connect with me on the HAPS. We're celebrating International Women's Day over here. And so we, the three of us, Monica and Alexis, we're having a live broadcast over on the HAPS app. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is Tiffany C. Everett. I hope you guys have a great day. And I'll be chatting with you again soon. Bye.
Thanks, Tiffany. Okay, Monica. Monica, it comes from Texas. So introduce yourself and let us know three ladies that you admire for International Women's Day.
Okay, first, I want to say, can y'all see me? Because I seem to be delayed.
That's okay. Just keep talking. You're looking great.
Okay, great. My name is Monica de Flores, and I am from Texas. And yes, I experienced the winter, I'm not going to say Wonderland, the blizzard, Texas blizzard.
Yeah.
It was awful, but we survived.
Did any of your pipes burst?
No, luckily it didn't. But we were prepared.
Yeah.
So let's see, three women that I admire. I want to say first, without getting into politics, AOC, Ocasio-Cortez, right? As young as she is, she's a firecracker, and she's not afraid to voice her opinion, regardless of who it is, right? So it could be good, but it could be bad. However, I love the girl. She's a firecracker. The others, I want to say, first of all, my mother, despite having just a third grade education, having 8 kids, which I'm the oldest of 8, she managed to get her beauty license and open up her own shop, which was amazing. So I guess I got the go-getterness from her, right? The nonstop. And another one, my aunt who passed away probably about 3 years ago from cancer. She went home her last year and managed, through all the pain and all the suffering, to guide her daughters and show them everything they needed to know, which is very inspiring to me. I hope that I'm given that amount of time, right, to just kind of show my family or show my kids what I really need them to know, right? And another, my cousin, who is a single mom of 2, never received any child support, and now has managed to have her own B&B and has her own investment company. That is a go-getter. So those are the women that I admire the most.
Well, wow. Impressive. Y'all have family members. You and Tiffany had family members. I had people in history that I admire. We're almost out of time. We have 2 minutes left, and I want to. This is your first broadcast, right, Monica?
I'm just too excited to be on here. I was like, dang it, I can't get out.
I try to get Monica to come so that she can get used to coming on HAPS, and today is her very first broadcast. So go, Monica.
It is. Yay, me. Like, I can do Facebook, no problem. I don't know what it is about HAPS, but hey, I might just be on here.
Are you on the phone or are you on a laptop?
The phone.
Phone, yeah. It looks totally different on the phone than it does the laptop. So, and I had to do a beginner broadcast with Swift Beats on Saturday on this broadcast studio here. But we're almost out of time, and I want to, if you want to come on Saturday and cook some soup, we're having Super Saturday here on HAPS, and I still have several different spots available. Reach out to me. I will put a timeline of what's open in my profile over there, and I'll send it over to Peter, and hopefully he can send it out to some people. I'm still looking for a few people to do soups on Saturday. All right. I think we're ready to go. So thank you, Monica, for coming in. You finally made it in, and you got your feet wet. So we're hoping to see you back. Okay. So I think Chris and Martin are up next if they want to bring them on. Revolutionary. Thank you so much. And see y'all later. Bye.
Bye. Night. Bye. See y'all next time.
Bye. Left, right, up, down. Hey guys. Or gals or or whatever. I've not done this from the computer before.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty cool.
Groundbreaking, new stuff for us here.
Yeah, this is new stuff for us here. So I'm assuming everyone can hear us okay. And
Hey, Shane.
hey Raymond.
Hey, Raymond.
But yeah, we've been watching on and off all day, and I'm hoping to do a bit of a marathon when this is all done, and sit there and just be able to look back on all you ladies and say hi. And I don't know if I'm the first one to tag the mail along. the other half of the equation, but I was just going to come on solo today, and then I thought, nah. In all fairness, this is as much of Martin's glory as it is mine, and
I appreciate that.
so
Say behind every great woman is a crazy man, ready to do whatever is necessary.
I thought it was behind every great woman was a scared man.
Oh, no. Well, I don't know, maybe.
You have to decide later. Yeah, there you go, chewing on his fingers. So Rev, you see, you're not the only guy at the moment, and it looks like Martin's got to.
Hey,
Oh, there we go. Okay, you gotta come closer to me. Come closer. Yay! So one of the things I was.
He's a great friend. So
yes.
I'll let you guys hang out a bit. I'm gonna jump back in the director's seat, but now I'm not muted. No, I'm good. So yeah, say hi.
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 Hi. So you were just about to make a point. I'm good, but now I'm curious. What were you going to say?
Oh, okay. I thought about coming on and talking about, because a lot of my background is PR and promo stuff and promotion, and it goes all the way back to VHS machines, and so we won't talk about how old I am. And then I thought about it, and I went, you know what? A lot of people are talking about clothes and makeup and impression and performers and stuff. So I thought, I'm going to bring Martin in with me, because I wanted to talk about the technical side of the entertainment industry, because that's where I've always had the biggest stumbling blocks. I still get paid less than him, unfortunately, for doing the same job. And I still struggle with the whole, we've got our compilation video, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I've worked on that he hasn't, a lot of stuff in there that he's worked on that I haven't, and because it's our own company, we just merged it all together, and the stuff we've worked on together as well. And there's no point in doing 3 separate videos. So we do one whole video, and we get messages from people all the time saying that there's no way I worked on any of that stuff at all, because it's all tech, it's all prop building, and it's something I've struggled with my whole life. When I was a kid, it was like, my brothers built models, and I had to sit and watch. It was like, no, I want to build models. So it's to find someone who doesn't seem to be threatened by that.
Yay!
She just doesn't seem to be threatened. I'm not. I'm not actually.
So you have life experience that illustrates the damaging power of low expectations of women's competence and women's interests in technical fields.
Immensely. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump in. I'm just a little,
Nothing. I'll just say I'm Dav, and you're Chris and Martin. And is Car Hunger your company name?
Yes.
It is Car Hunger Creative.
We struggled to find a company name that would suit us both. We had to go back. We had to return to doing a lot of more freelance, because the way productions are changing, and we moved back to Toronto from BC. So we moved out there for things like Stargate, and then we moved back more recently, and we needed a company name, and we went through all the databases for registrations and couldn't find anything that we liked. Like, everything we wanted was taken. So we thought, my name is Car, his name is Hunger, and
so
we combined it. And Car Hunger Creative, because the government says we have to do that. We can't just call it Car Hunger, which is fine. People joke all the time, why is her name first?
It just sounds better.
Yeah.
Hunger Car?
Yeah, Hunger Car just doesn't work. No.
It's like the Hunger Games, but you go into a car and then you have to try and compete.
Well,
for
people
death.
still contact us thinking that we've got something to do with auto memorabilia, or selling used cars or stuff like that.
Yeah, you're hungry for the perfect car. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, am I the perfect car or not?
You are.
Okay, there you go.
You are the perfect car.
See, he's going to live another night.
You've satiated his hunger for the perfect car. Nice.
We've been together for 33 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since 1987.
And we haven't killed each other yet. And you see, that's the thing too, is, you know, people are like, he's the guy, he does this and he does that. And I'm sitting there going, I outweigh him in muscle by 40 pounds because I swing a sword. So, you know, you need muscle to do that. And as a kid, I was, again, very physically different than the other girls. I had I had a higher male hormone count. So I built muscle up before they did. You know, I've got a wide rib cage. There was a time long ago that I was considering surgery to make myself into a proper figure so I can make all the money. And when I found out what that would do to my body, it was just like, no, as an actor. So, yeah, we just make a lot of our own work now more than anything.
The internet has introduced me to some a British woman who makes props, and her company helped make the large cat in Cats. You know, there's like some big sculpture of a lion or something, and I remember that she did that, and I got to see some of the behind the scenes photos of it being constructed, and it was really big. It was life size. I guess they interacted with it, so that's cool. Now I know people on 2 different continents who are involved with the technical side of filmmaking, which is cool.
Well, this is what I found very interesting too, because one of my talents is a faux finisher. I have a little more free thinking brain. Like, I mean, he can draw a straight line without a ruler. I can't do that, right? So when it comes to certain things, it's best to hand it to him because the way his brain is programmed. Whereas me, if you want fake marble, if you want fake metal, and it's so easy when I walk. I still get paid less than a guy, which still upsets me to this day. But you know, there's very little you can do about that. And you know, at least I got a partner. So if he gets paid more, at least we're both reaping.
Yeah, you're bringing home the bacon collectively, even if it's being wrongly, disproportionately directed towards him.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, I walk in and say, I'm going to do this faux finish, and they're like, a girl doing faux finish, that's fine. A woman doing faux finish, that's artistic, that's free floating, that's this organic, and that. And then I walk in on another gig and say, I'm wiring up these electronics so this works and blinks and makes sounds, and they're like, whoa, what, isn't Martin here for that? Like, no, I'm available today.
You're available. I'm just thinking such a big lesson for me over the past, say, 4 years has been how insanely protective people are of their preconceived ideas about anything. So if they already have a conception that women do this or are like this, then people who fall outside of that box or people whose very existence is an exception to those preconceptions, they meet with so much resistance. Oh, we can't pay you properly, or we can't acknowledge your work, or and that racism is one function of that, when people just feel discomfort with Black people stepping outside of the box of expectation that they wanted to keep them in. That, oh my gosh, Barack Obama is an excellent president. Well, that can't be true. Or just people's how much they will almost go to the mat to die for the integrity of their ideas. So it's interesting that you've lived that life that's so challenging to the definition of femininity or the people's preconceptions of femininity.
You know, we're in our 50s. You know, and I went into perimenopause early, but British Columbia didn't really recognize that, the province we were in. And part of the reason we moved back to Ontario is because the medical system, even though it's the same country, the medical system here is better. And I finally got the surgery I needed to stop the hell. But when women go into menopause and perimenopause, it means our female hormones are doing this because it wants to produce a baby, but there's no eggs left. So you're constantly off balancing.
That's what it is. I had never heard an actual explanation for the phenomenon of menopause before, and I wasn't quite up to.
The way when people ask me, because I had one very long, a lot of women have like 1 or 2 months type thing. You're lucky if you get a year, but there's a few of us that go on forever in our in our perimenopausal state. And basically what happens is your body says all your eggs are gone. So it tries to stop producing the female hormone in order to reproduce. So that brings your male hormone count up. And I already had a high one to start.
Yeah.
So my body.
The high testosterone levels in women are linked with higher success rates.
Yes. Well, I've always stepped ahead of my girls, you know, my female friends. I don't go to bridal showers or baby showers anymore because it's just too many women in the room. Just drives me nuts. Doesn't mean I'm not a woman. I just can't stand it. It just makes me uncomfortable. And okay, cool. Thank you, Rev. But it's a huge thing to go face that. And people go, so how do you describe it? I said, well, we lost all our eggs and now our bodies are trying to kill us.
Yeah. So you've got competing hormonal activation systems. So you've got on one hand a dampening down of estrogen production and a ramping up of testosterone production.
Mm-hmm. Basically, yeah. And in your perimenopausal state, it hasn't decided yet. So one moment you're high on one end, and the next moment you're high on the other end. And it's just, Shane's right, and Shane's one of our longtime friends. She's down in Texas now. She was in Vancouver with us for a little while, studying animation. And part of her problem is whenever anyone sees her name, they think she's a guy, instantly, and they go all over apologetic, like they get spazzy when she says, "No, I'm a girl." My parents just like boys' names, and and people get over apologetic. They start compensating. They're like, "Oh, we're so sorry, we're sorry," and they cascade. And she's just sitting there going, "It's okay, just do it once. I'll do it 5 times and lecture you." But so the poor girl has to, and someone did ask her. I can't remember whether it was when we were still in Periscope or not. Someone asked her if she ever thought of changing her name. She's like, "Why? It's my name. It's who I am."
Whenever I hear quotes like that, I always rehear lines from The Crucible in my head. I don't have the exact quote, but at the end, the main character's like, "Because it's my name, damn it. You can take anything from me, but not my name. And that's something else people are attached to. I'd call that an adaptive thing to be attached to. Once you have an identity, you can trade off it motivationally and generate more testosterone in the expectation of achieving success on the basis of your name and your identity.
Yeah, and like Shane says, she was a tomboy. I'm still considering myself a tomboy, and it's funny how many guys say that's what makes me sexier when I put on a dress. And it's like, it's okay.
Clean up.
That's fine. I clean up well, yeah, apparently. But when we started doing research, because I was stuck in the perimenopausal state, my cycle wasn't ending, and people are like, "How can you talk like this on air?" It's a natural thing. Women do that once a month, and mine was bleeding me to death. Because it was confused and it grew fake. I had a fake baby inside me is the best way to describe it. It was a growth that my body decided to put in place to pretend it was still young. It was horrible. Like the type of menstrual cycle I had was excruciating. I was literally bleeding to death. It was water. It was red water, and every once in a while the growth would detach itself and come out, and then the whole cycle would start all over again.
So you had multiple sort of faux pregnancies.
And sometimes it'd be 4 weeks, sometimes it'd be 6 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, sometimes,
There were times he's talking to a woman who was hormonally equivalent to a 9-month pregnant woman, about to give birth, and then the next he's talking to me like it's the first month and nothing's there. So it's poor Martin. I'm kind of surprised he survived.
I learned to move fast and duck a lot.
So what kind of surgery could they do to fix that? Did they remove your ovaries? What did they do?
No, there's an easier surgery now that wasn't around many years ago. And they go in with a laser and they sterilize me.
Okay. They basically cut away the fibroids, get rid of them,
and then basically singed my inner lining, so to speak. And
the inner lining of your uterus, or the inner lining of your fallopian tubes, or the ovaries? Oh, the uterus.
Yeah, and because of that,
that'll teach you, buddy.
So because of that, basically they scarred the inside, and then now nothing will take. Like if anything tries, it'll just fall out. So my body is slowly giving up trying. So I finally officially, actually, as of 2 months from now, it was February I had the surgery.
Yeah.
So I am now officially menopausal.
Yeah.
And Martin's still alive.
Over a year since the surgery. So,
but in this process of trying to figure out what was happening with me, especially when I'm on sets, high stress and everyone's doing the whole, you're a typical woman, you're freaking out, and I'm sitting there going, no, I'm in a perimenopausal state. The hormones are crazy. I can't time it. I can't say I'm going to set when my hormones do this because I don't know when it'll do that. Yeah.
I'm effectively pregnant with no baby.
Yeah. So
for 6, 7, 8 years.
8 years.
Pretty much. So.
Jesus.
And every year it got worse and worse and worse. So we got to that, and that was the first time we registered a company. Like we've been a company together before, but under a very different circumstance. And this is when the two of us realized that if we're both going to keep working in this field, we have to put the emphasis on him.
Yeah.
So basically, he takes the job, and if I'm feeling okay, I go into the job and he takes another job. As opposed to me taking the job, having a hormonal breakdown and not being able to follow through.
Yeah.
Because I'm equivalent to pregnant, but I'm not. But what happened with him is we did some research because we couldn't figure out why he was getting more sensitive, and he started. I guess you can say you combated against that. You tried to be more masculine, didn't you?
Yeah, to overcompensate for it.
Yeah. And then we found out about, what's it called again?
It's something. It's called andropause for men. It's the male equivalent to menopause. That's basically where the testosterone levels start to gradually deplete for a guy. So they become. It's the opposite, right? So the estrogen levels and progesterone that's already in every human body start taking over a little bit more. So they become a little bit more moody, a little bit more sensitive, a little more effeminate sometimes,
which I find actually very attractive.
Totally okay with that.
Let's call it feminine, because effeminate is often used pejoratively. So if we say feminine, he became more in touch with his feminine side, then it sounds less like we're disparaging this very worthwhile quality of emotional sensitivity.
Exactly,
yeah.
That's a really good point.
Thank you, Joe. We are a great team, but one of the things I wanted to get across tonight, especially since it is International Women's Day, is the fact that, you know, guys, especially if they're in their older, and for them it's very gradual, but because they're struggling more, a man, whereas a woman, you know, we get a little more masculine, we're fine. But when, you know, then it happens like a shock.
There's a lot of policing of masculinity at the moment. Yes.
Yeah.
That you can't betray the social fabric by undermining a man's typical manifestation in the world as manly. You can't start being all soft. That's clearly a slippery slope to a weak society. Yeah, I can imagine.
And Shane's right. We still do feel like we balance each other, and like we did before, and we still are. But the hell we've gone through just to have the world accept that, to not lose our friends, the number of times where we've had breakdowns at completely different times, because for men it's very gradual, because basically they're losing a sperm out of a billion. Oh, connection lost.
Oh, hello.
What?
We lost you just for a few seconds.
Yeah, I think our internet's still a little bit glitchy.
I have no preview at the moment. Hang on. I'm going to do a quick reload.
Hello.
Hi, Melanie. I'm Davina. I'm Dav.
Hey.
Right. I'm Dav Cat.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Good.
Happy International Women's Day.
Yes. Jinx.
And Melanie's on. No, had nothing to do with you.
No,
Hey.
However, we still don't have a preview. Can you guys
everyone see us? Oh, there it is.
We can see you.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Okay.
Hey, we got the upper left.
We're
in the pocket again.
Oh, we're in the pocket.
My only goal for appearing today, so before I go, I just wanted to know if we get to discuss the decline of the British monarchy, because that seems to be unleashed by a powerful woman today in the United States. Is that up for a gender role discussion?
Oh God!
Hey,
yes.
because Harry is being praised at the moment in the media or in some Twitter circles for being protective, and although that's seen as manly, I guess, to take steps to protect your wife and child, but yeah, do we have any? What's your perspectives on it?
Well, the nice thing about being Canadians is we're still in a Commonwealth country.
Yeah.
So the monarchy is still seen in its value. Most of us don't perceive it as the corporation of the crown. We still perceive it as, you know, the monarchy, and we see a lot of respect coming from each other, like within the monarchy itself. It's just the corporation of the crown is where the problem is, and I can understand them trying to keep images up. But I think they're going too far. It's like the crown itself is trying to move ahead into the here and now when it comes to the roles that they play. But the corporation of the crown is not. But when you think about it, the corporation of the crown is all financially based. So if they're not moving ahead, then it's only a matter of time before the crown loses finances. And I think this is a really bad move on the corporation's part. I think it's amazing that he's standing up for his wife, especially considering what happened to his mother. But I don't see it as a man or a woman. I see it as two people who are producing a baby, and they have a role to play, and their own corporation is not letting them play it. You know, and I see them both as equals. You know, that baby should not be chastised, especially before it's born. You know, just
I also need to ask Melanie about the light in the background. That's a very exciting disco effect you've got happening there.
It's in honor of International Women's History Month. So I'm over here celebrating being a woman. I wanted to share the energy with everybody.
Oh, cool.
So it is a disco light.
Yeah, it's a party light.
Cool.
And it's just like a strobe light just going off.
That's awesome.
And I want to say hey to Shane. Someone was saying hi to me. Thank you. Hey, everybody.
Yeah, Shane's awesome. Shane's definitely awesome.
Who has Meghan Markle?
What?
Stayed. Oh, sorry. Somebody said you became this important woman for me on Periscope, and now Haps. So I think that's Marsha talking to me because I'm just recognize her from
awesome. Yeah.
from my thing. So I'm just saying hello.
Nice.
Hello, Marsha. Thank you for that. I'm British, sort of. Well, not British. I'm not British personally. My father is from England, so I have that sort of marination in British sensibilities. But I'm also Australian, and there's a lot of there's a diversity in Australia. A lot of people opposed to still being part of the Commonwealth. They want Australia to be a republic. They want the Queen to no longer be the official head of our nation. And I've always been on the side of, well, that's reasonable. But then I also had that sort of pop cultural, look at the royals, and they're getting married and having babies. And people sometimes just like shared moments to be excited about. Some people like sharing those moments, and other people like being the people going, well, who even cares and why would anybody care? But I liked Meghan and Harry, and with the revelations about there being a lot of ingrained racism in the royal family, it's like, oh, that does resonate. The royal family and the British Empire have been this incredibly destructive force around the world for millennia in terms of conquest and colonization. So yes, we shouldn't be super duper surprised that they're racist enough to have conversations about, well, what color is your skin? Is your child's skin potentially going to be? Because it's a cult of whiteness, and when that gets challenged, sometimes people can't cope with that change of going, well, we could have a black child in the family.
Jazzy's got a bit of a point here. She's just a figurehead anyway. You know, Jazzy's right to some degree. The monarchy is no longer in control. They are just figureheads now, which is a shame because
corporation.
You're monarchists. I'm going to interview some people who. That's all right. Diversity of opinion is very much good.
Yeah. What surprised me was that anyone was surprised, but it's just like, I mean, Canada, we don't seem to care. We have a French Canadian Prime Minister now that speaks like this, so you know it's a whole world for us, a whole different reality. We tend to see them as, you know, they have a representative in our parliament, and that's that. And the Queen owns a ton of land here that is constantly being used for Cub Scouts and things like that for free. So, you know, it's for us, it's not.
And what's Melanie's opinion? Melanie.
Yeah, I was just, I was over here listening to everybody. I think that a lot of people heard about, the royal family, the history of it and whatnot. It had become even more of a celebrity thing with the Crown show coming out and all that. Mm-hmm. I mean, they wouldn't be the first people to separate from the royal family. So, I mean, it's not unheard of. And I mean, they do have that choice, and people still accept them. They're going to be all right, regardless of what's happening. So, I mean, regardless if they stay with the royal family or leave and do their own thing, they're not going to lack. I mean, people have already taken them under their arms and their wing.
Tyler Perry,
exactly.
And security, and they needed security because the royals took security away from baby Archie, and there's like a kidnapping risk for members of the royal family. So they were literally on the precipice of being extremely unsafe. But Yay, they're American royalty now, and American royalty in the form of wealthy celebrities like Tyler Perry was able to step in and save them.
Exactly. So regardless of what happens, they're going to be all right. You know, I think people, yes, they do like the idea of the whole celebrity with the royal family or whatnot. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, life goes on. You know, I'm happy they are safe. And the queen knew that it was going to be a mixed child, you know, and it shouldn't be such a drastic difference anyway. If they want to be all technical, the baby is still going to be light skinned, you know, comparably. So I
Well, he
mean,
was. Archie's like a red-headed, very, very white child.
exactly.
But that was the conversations that happened before he was born when they didn't know.
So I mean, it's of course some people just not going to get out of their as they call it stankin' thinking. It's just they just going to continue to think how they want to think, and that's how they were brought up. And you know, she's just a stickler. Her people were sticklers. I mean, you know, so I mean, what can you expect? I mean, just from here on out, the generations to come, they should be more open and welcoming. You know, changes inevitable. Changes.
Well, I think in America there would be less positive sentimentality towards the British royal family, but and more of an awareness as well that America isn't alone in grappling with problems of racism and anti-black. Stankin' thankin'. I don't think I've got the pronunciation right of that. Stinking. But yeah, that it's an inheritance that Britain has struggled with that as well. This conferring of assumed worthiness to people who got this.
Yeah.
And ascribing assumed unworthiness to people who don't. So that when they're protective of it, even though they knew that Meghan and Harry's child would be wonderful and one of them, that there was still this concern of what happens if this biracial baby has a color of skin that people don't expect and they won't be comfortable with it. Like, what exactly were they trying to preserve? The idea that the royal family always has to be pure? Like, what? But yeah, hopefully they can move past that, and there'll be a big level of public shaming around what's been disclosed to Oprah. So I hope that helps evolve public thinking as well.
I'm hoping that the whole thing, like, I mean, eventually everything's going to blow over, the whole COVID thing, the whole government thing. Like, we're all going to go through this hell, you know, mankind or humankind or you know, people, however you want to voice it, or whatever word you want to use. You know, we go through this all the time. And I think one of the joys of being in the entertainment industry is the fact that we can see it. Because, you know, when I got in, I was 8 years old. I'm now 52. Please don't do the math. And, you know, please. I just don't want to.
You just did. You just told us.
I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now, Chris.
No.
Age is a privilege. Older age is a privilege denied to many. There you go. So
yes,
congratulations on reaching 52. Well done.
Right.
But you know, it's like what I was doing when I was 8 years old would not fly now. I could find an 8-year-old girl who looks a lot like I did at that age and put her in the same situation I was in, and it won't sell. Right? But back then it did. And it's just it's amazing to be in an industry for so long that people are like, you know, they're yelling at the news about influencing people. You know, the news puts you in this, the news puts you in this. The news has got to sell too. So what are you buying? It boils down to what are you buying. So this industry is probably the best. And it's, you know, one of the things Martin and I were talking about before we got on was, again, the whole hormonal change. And he feels more comfortable in this industry now. Because they're all artists. They don't care that his hormones are changing.
Yeah.
They don't feel threatened.
Because entertainment does tend to be more flexible and therefore more feminine in terms of less rigid and more welcoming of difference, more accommodating and more unconditionally loving. But yes, getting to be in the entertainment industry means you get to be part of that cold front of shaping culture and therefore shaping thought. So you can see how flexible culture is because you've been working in that industry that helps change thinking. I mean, some thinking is very entrenched, but culture still dabbles at the edges of it and shifts it in certain directions.
You know, it's starting to be where.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say this. It's starting to be where the more normal or so-called normal you are, the more weird you're becoming. It's like change is the trend now. if you're not changing, you just outdated, you know.
Mhm.
So a lot of
Yeah,
people
exactly.
are trying to change something so they can still feel like they're fitting in, because
The
everybody else.
drawback is, sorry, my dear. The drawback is, of course, the hours are not normal either.
Mhm.
The one moment it's feast, the next moment it's famine. If you don't plan your budget wisely, you don't really have a retirement. You just kind of hope to God that you don't die before you get a chance to experiment with your older self.
Mhm.
It is a difficult industry. The other day, someone was saying that it's unfair, the way we're treated, and all these shows are abusive. And Martin and I are sitting there going, no,
It's the job. You come in, if you're brought in as a day call, you're not going to have the same rights and privileges as somebody who's there as a more permanent um, fixture in the production. Like a team leader or a department head. Right?
And
You're
that's
there. You're basically a foot soldier,
Yeah.
as opposed to being the
Yeah.
general or the commander, right?
and security, when you and I do on location services work,
Mhm.
right? It's a lot of times you're sent out with your car and you're sitting in a field overnight watching DVDs or digital, your tablet, and making sure no one spray paints the cherry picker for tomorrow's shoot.
Or no one comes and rifles through the trucks that
And
are parked there for the next day.
They'll call him all the time. They won't call me because it's overnight and I'm a girl. Like,
Yeah.
so what?
Happy International Women's Day again.
Wow.
I'm going to look at the comment section because Eleanor made a good point that for the royal family, it means your bloodline just got stronger because inbreeding is conducive to illness and death. And that's very true. And that's a good point to highlight the irrationality of racial superiority complexes, that when you think you have to just intermarry within a certain demographic, that's limiting the gene pool available to your descendants, which is more likely to perpetuate genetic disorders from the combination of one errant gene with a copy of that same errant gene, instead of getting the genetic strength of having more diversity. So perhaps a mutated gene could be paired with a happy gene, a functional gene, and therefore that condition is not expressed in offspring. That's the upside of genetic diversity and the downside of delusional racial superiority worldviews. So I just love that point from Eleanor that, yeah, the royal family should have been like, yay, hooray, we're less likely to be perpetuating, I don't know, hemophilia or other genetically inherited conditions.
Exactly. And they've already had, some, special needs,
They had hemophilia. Yeah, a lot of Queen Victoria's children had hemophilia.
Yeah. So,
because of royals inbreeding amongst other European royalty and having a very restricted, and marrying cousins, having a very restricted gene pool.
Wow.
Michelle Alexander says, try being biracial and experiencing a double stigma from all sides. Give us biracial people a chance to speak for ourselves rather than speaking for us. I hope their kids grow up as vocal agents of change. Is that a request for an invitation to speak on the show, Michelle, or are you speaking just more generally that we should be more inclusive of biracial voices? That's just my question to that commenter when she comes back. But
sorry. We've had people, I mean, you look at the gathering of people right here, and you look at Martin and I were very close in skin tone. I'm sure if we had children, they would be even paler than us, which is scary. I'm grateful that I didn't have a child, though. I probably would not have done very well as a mother. But I'm English, Irish, Scottish, Parisian, French, Canadian, and Native Indian.
Yep.
And you can't see the Native at all. Thank you. You can't see the Native at all. You can definitely see it in my mother. I look more like my father. I definitely got more of his genetics. But you can always tell when my father was losing a fight, because he would say to my mother, you could hear from the other room, "You're the reason my children cannot drink me under the table, because Native Indians are allergic to alcohol. So we get drunk like this, whereas he'll take forever to get drunk." And you're German.
My background is German, Yugoslav, Czech, and probably if we go back far enough, there's some Welsh, Irish maybe in there as well. We haven't really confirmed that, but
so he can drink me. He can outdrink me any day.
I come from a long line of drinkers.
And My heritage is African American, and my grandmother was Sioux, so Native American as well. So
yeah,
Nice.
I've just learned how to pronounce a word now. I've only ever seen Sue in writing.
right.
So I'm so glad I heard it rather than trying to say it myself.
Yeah. It's nice when someone says their own. Yeah, the X is kind of silent. Well, British Columbia, did a lot of. There were a number of Native women who went missing in the northern half of British Columbia.
You may have heard of the Highway of Tears.
The Highway of Tears, yeah. It's a section of highway, basically in those communities where these women went missing. And again, it was that whole, why are the female Native Indians going missing? And apparently because they tried to get out. They tried to basically get out. So they wound up being picked up, or they wound up, and they were all women who were trying to get out of their communities because of how they felt and how their obligations, how their obligations wound up in their society and their, their structure, and they're gone. They're missing. They're just completely gone. And it's such a sad story, and especially since they're all women, it's such a sad
you're welcome,
story.
Michelle.
But it was, it's an incredible story, and again, it's why the women. Why do we have to keep targeting one demographic? And beautiful women, if you look at their pictures, absolutely striking, just gorgeous women. And I had one friend say, well, they were raped and they were genetically modified and they were this and then that. They're not really truly native anymore. And I'm sitting there going, just A, they're women. B, they're women of power that they took into their own hands to find another life, and they just didn't succeed in for whatever reason. And C, do we have to criticize the possibly dead? I mean, do we have to do that?
And criticizing them for their genetic composition in terms of being products of historical rape, that's victim blaming to the next level. My God.
Sure.
So I think in terms of change that Melanie was talking about before, one of the nice things, at least in society, is that we seem to be embracing more that people have their own identities, and some of that is how you feel and how you're treated, and not just your biology. Exactly. And not just your genetic inheritance, but it's your lived experience and your community. So who you've identified with and who you've hung out with.
I think it's messed up sometimes. It's like where, there's some people you don't know what race they are, racially ambiguous. And I think like I'm into acting. So a lot of the, auditions, they're looking for people who are racially ambiguous, people that can't necessarily identify what race they are. Because people won't judge them
racist because you can't tell.
Exactly. And they won't judge them as much because they don't know how to judge you. So, Mariah Carey is biracial, has a black parent or white parent, but then so does Halle Berry. And it's total differences, so it just depends on how it's played out. But Mariah Carey, if somebody would look at her, they're like, oh, they think that she had both parents, were probably white. But
yeah, she's white passing for sure.
So it's like a lot of time I think we're trying to bridge into the whole changes of being mixed or looking mixed, but if you can't see the mixture, then
it shows how arbitrary it is. It shows how completely effing arbitrary it is that Mariah Carey passes as if anybody's issuing passes, but it's still a function of trying to cater to people's prejudices and sometimes work around them, or sometimes challenge them and say, hey, well, actually don't have them. But the kind of people whose job it is to produce ads or to produce shows and who want to broaden their audience as much as possible, they're still making those past decisions and that, okay, let's not trigger. But what I like
That's funny. Let's not trigger.
Not trigger.
Wow.
Well, let's not trigger the racist because we need to maximize the profit margin. So we want to, keep as many racists on board in our potential audience as possible. So you pander to racists and people who do get triggered by preconceived notions that get triggered, and then help them judge actors or actresses unfavorably. But Black Panther was the highest grossing Marvel movie for a while, and that illustrated to people that it's potentially more lucrative to stop pandering to the racists and instead pander to the opposite to the forward-thinking change makers, and the appetite for that is actually considerable. So for the producers and the deal makers behind the scenes to learn that lesson in such a visceral way by seeing the incredible financial success of Black Panther, that's how culture moves us forward.
Yeah. And oh, go ahead.
What a beautiful combination you have, Melanie, of genetics. I am definitely going to hit a subscribe for you because I want to watch you. I really want to watch you.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Oh. Yeah, it's I think too, dealing with what's going on in like the culture, you know, since there were like different protests and riots and different things like that, then ads get on board with that, saying, oh, it's trending. So now let's get more of a darker shade person to represent certain things. So it's still flowing with the trends, you know, where either way it could be a beautiful thing, you know, just depending on the person and what personality they can express through the artwork, what facial expressions they can make. You know, we're all humans. The point can still get made. That's pretty much what I'm saying. Yeah.
History test can't be traced back. Oh, we're a country of immigrants. Well, exactly. Except and even the Native Americans, there's no guarantee. We had a viewer on at one time that kept calling me a liar and kept really laying in and wouldn't leave me alone because I'm so white. And I'm like, look at my sister. My sister's got the dark, thick hair. My sister's got the olive skin. My sister's got, and so does my mom. The two of them definitely look more native than anything else. Myself and my brothers look more like my father, the pale skin, you know, the English, Irish, Scottish genetics, and, you know, the French taste for red wine. But, you know, it's, you can't make that determination. We are so, like, I mean, we are so mixed, and why does it even matter? I mean, his family does not look German.
No. We're melting pots. We're all studying genetic melting pots.
You're right. Everybody's a melting pot. Yep.
Yeah. But the reason why the shortcuts exist is that people like to make negative assumptions.
This is your voice from above.
Okay.
Helen Wallace, paging Helen Wallace to the customer
Helen,
service
I love
desk,
your
please.
accent. Get your butt in here.
Helen Wallace to the customer service desk. All right, keep
That's
going.
funny. Rev, your voice is so dope. It's so awesome. I love it.
It's a radio voice.
Yes, it
You can
is.
be attractive or not attractive as you like with that voice. That's money in the
Rev,
bank.
I meant what I said earlier. You know, men should do makeup more often, and I do have some spare dulling spray. If you want to get some off of me, I'll happily send.
Yeah, I need the dulling spray, and you know, I might have a face for radio, but I got a voice for sexy.
Do you know my father?
That was his thing, a face for radio.
He has a face for radio,
Okay.
and grass never grows.
There's Helen. Come on, Helen.
Come on, Helen.
There's Helen. Okay.
Sorry, I saw you before, Helen. I didn't say hello because I think I was caught up in whatever.
That's no problem. Not at all. You're fine.
Hello, Helen.
Hi. Seems to be some kind
There's
of
my favorite accent.
issue. But we're here. How are we doing? It's always difficult to come in mid-conversation. I have no idea what I've walked into.
Okay, we didn't half an hour or so ago either. So.
Just make it up as you go along.
Yeah.
Just tell us what we're talking about. We'll keep going.
Well, I'm happy to just join in. I came here with no agenda. I was going to talk about, what International Women's Day is about because, we're all here discussing it and we're celebrating it. But why is there a need for it? And I think we have to come back to, why is there a need for it? I would love to see the day where there isn't a need for it. This has been going since 1911 when suffragettes were a thing. So, I don't know if you want to switch conversations. We've only got 15 minutes before, the night ends anyway. Maybe it's best to just, hi Brett, hi Marcia, hi Katrina. Maybe it's better to just continue with the conversation that you've already started.
I think we wound up sidetracking from women talk to cultural talk, and then we kind of combined the two of them together. And I don't know about the other two, but I think I've lost track.
Yeah, we can talk about women. That's fine.
He's not going to complain.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, no, Helen, that's very valid. When we first started up, when it was just the two screens, we were saying that, Martin and I are in an age bracket where I've gone into menopause, so my male hormones are taking a dominant position so that my menstrual can stop. And because men have a version of menopause as well, and that's when the male hormones drop, and a man becomes more and more feminine, and that men are constantly left out because of this, and he struggled with trying to be a man when he couldn't understand what was happening to his body, and it took a while for him to, and he still struggles every once in a while. He still doesn't know how to fight a battle without accessing that aggressive male. But
it comes into overcompensation sometimes, right? Trying to live up to that stereotype.
But let's talk about the word. Let's talk about, you've touched on something I would love to pick up on. Let's talk about the word aggression. Now, I work in and have my whole adult life worked in a predominantly male-dominated industry, multiple male-dominated industries. I am a full-time professional photographer. I also host a radio show. I manage a band. I have toured with bands for years. I manage comedians and musicians' diaries. I work within that industry where it's predominantly male dominated. And there are situations where I need to be assertive. As a female, it's seen as aggression. If I was a male, it would be seen as assertiveness. And we really have to address that disparity where there's a double standard in that, sticking up for your rights somehow as soon as you're being aggressive or belligerent or combative in some way, when actually all you're doing is just being forthright. I mean, there are situations where tiny little situations which become frustrating, and the mere, it's even happened on here, where you're like, no, I'm standing my ground, something's happened, it's cheesed me off, I'm going to address it, and you're seen as being aggressive, or you're seen as being, like.
I used to run a festival back in British Columbia, a Renaissance festival, and I outweigh him by a good 40 pounds of muscle mass because, my body isn't like the other women, and I found that it was really easy to swing swords and handle guns and all that kind of stuff. So I started doing that, and we had a co-producer where there wound up being an issue of slander, and that's part of the reason we lost the project. But because I was the owner of the project, I was the key producer, and then Martin and the other producer were under me, so to speak. It was really easy for him to get online and start the slander, and emotionally and physically and financially completely destroy me. And because I was the one swinging the swords, I'm the one with the more muscle, I'm so I'm a big bad woman who beats up on her husband, and meanwhile Martin's sitting there going, geez, if you were to beat up on me in the way that I like, I'd be happy.
Pinky devil.
I know.
But it was so easy to take me down, and he went after me.
Because that's seen as the easy, because you're seen as the easy target.
And jokingly, she started calling herself the moving target, and I think that got taken a little bit too much inside.
So literally, yeah.
I tried to turn it into a joke, and I couldn't do it. It wound up actually destroying me instead of helping me deal with it. And that was a huge thing for me.
Do you ever feel that you're somehow constantly trying to prove that you are just as capable of doing something as your male colleagues?
All the freaking time.
Yes. Helen, you mentioned about being a photographer.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm a full-time photographer too. And I go to events sometimes, well, not so much since it's COVID time, but and the guys be trying to get the shot, and you trying to get the shot, and they got more muscle, they got more height. I'm 5 feet.
See, I'm very fortunate. I'm 5'10". It's difficult to come up against me. I'm a big girl.
Yeah. So I gotta maneuver my little self in front of people, and I'm like, you really don't have to push me out the way. Just let me stand in front of you, and you can get the shot. I can get the shot.
Can I give you a tip?
Go ahead.
Doc Martens with steel toe caps. It would be your best friend. That's my
Sorry,
top tip.
I had to come in on there. Get you some big old Doc Martens, and that's the way to do it. That's good advice.
No, you just
Very
need
good
to
advice.
just stand on someone's toe occasionally. Stand on someone's foot occasionally.
And they're fashionable, so you're
you got too
fashionably
close.
stepping on their toe.
Yeah, just keep your distance, and it won't happen again.
That's sage advice from a wise woman. That's awesome, Helen.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I will be getting some of those. I actually seen some on sale. I might need to cop those.
To be honest with you, I have been very fortunate in that most of the gigs that I have photographed, I haven't been working for a publication. I haven't had the same restrictions as, being in the pit for the first 3 songs, because I'm usually working for the band themselves. I'm usually, side stage, or I'm up at the, the sound desk, or I'm very seldom ever in the pit. I mean, obviously I did that at the start, but, I'm like I say, I'm not small, so you're going to have to push me hard to get me out of the way.
But you're so silly. even pushing your weight, meaning like people don't expect you to be, because I've been in events and people don't expect me to be the photographer for the event. They don't expect that. And sometimes you have to show them, hey, I just jumped on stage and you're not on stage. So it's just like you gotta, the guys be trying to show themselves strong, and then you gotta show yourself strong. You're like, okay, now I gotta do some climbing to show
I've
you.
done that. You know what? So many times, like I say, I manage a band, right? And so many times they think you're just some silly wee groupie that's hanging around the band, and then it comes to payment time, or it comes to contract, or there's some kind of issue with, and like it's the guys will say, you'll have to speak to our manager. You'll have to speak to her,
Good luck. Good luck.
It's the look. It's like the look of horror on the face. It's like, oh shit, we were just, being an arsehole a minute ago.
How humbling.
Molly made a comment a moment ago. Men are called assertive and women are called bitchy, and I wanted to bring it back if that's okay, because one of the things that pissed me off, especially as a Gen Xer, because we went through that whole 80s of change every word so it means something else, and I always hated that. Why should we have to change the meaning of a word? Why should we have to make it okay for someone to use those words? Bitch is a bitch.
Yeah.
And that's that.
They tried to make it a power word in the 80s.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to listen. I'm Scottish. I'm not going to tell you the words that we use, because they're usually highly offensive to Americans, right? And I'm aware that we're an American-centric app, right? So I'm not going to drop the C-bomb, but that's mild.
We already know what it is now.
You missed the part. You missed the part where I said my father's English, Irish, Scottish, Parisian, French, and my mother's French, Canadian, Native Indian. But I have such a dark sense of humor. There were so many kids at school who look at me and go, "What the hell? You're just a child." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I talk like my dad." But in Canada, we've got being the northern cousins to the United States. Sometimes is tough. And we're so different from province to province. I mean, just so. When we lived in British Columbia, I felt like I had moved to another country. I didn't feel like I was still in Canada. I felt like I was literally in another country. It's you can say anything around us. Canadians will just roll with it.
I'm being well behaved.
Oh, okay.
Being well behaved.
Being well behaved.
I'm trying my best to assist. Yeah, it's funny because.
Do a bitch fest,
just to there's a couple of things I want to cover, and one of the reasons I wanted Michelle up here was because she's been on the end of this, and obviously women's rights. I don't know how you feel about the term women's rights, right? Because again, I don't think that should even be a thing. I'm all for equality. Like I say, I work in an industry predominantly male. I'm seen as equal within the industry. Obviously there's the odd occasional person, maybe like a promoter or whatever, that's taken aback that it's a woman that's in charge, but for the most part I've earned that. I'm seen as an equal. I'm all for equality. But women's rights, there's some issues are massive, and some issues are just really basic and things that and I'm aware that we've only got 5 minutes, so I'm going to try and wrap this and condense it into something that we can all take away from this. I've got a friend who, she's wonderful, and I would like to try and get her on for a chat on Haps one day. Her name's Kate Coppstick. She's mostly known as being, the fiercest Edinburgh Fringe reviewer. I don't know how familiar you are with the Edinburgh Fringe, but the Edinburgh Fringe is the world's largest arts festival, and it's where all the comedians go to be discovered. Kate Coppstick is a reviewer, but she also runs a charity in Kenya, single-handedly, for women who have been street workers, but for whatever reason they've fallen into that. Maybe they've been abused, maybe they've been raped, maybe they've been, like whatever. Really gritty, hard work. The one extreme end of women's rights and why women are treated that particular way, in a situation where they're in poverty. And then we've got situations that affect us in daily life, something really basic like, just being patronized, or, I mean, I feel like I've gone off on a tangent here.
No. I can pull off of that.
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. I'm not going to say any names because I don't want to embarrass anybody, right? But today we were talking about this thing. We were talking about this Women's Day thing, right? And I was having a conversation in the chat with someone from HAPS, and I said, "Oh, you've not got anybody ending it. You've not got anybody, wrapping it up. You've not got anybody hosting for the last half hour. I can do that." Right away, a male on the app jumped in and says, "What time is that on? I can do that." And it's just like, whoa, like I've got this. I'm capable. I can cope with half an hour at the end of, I'm just as capable of doing something as you are. Like I say, I don't want to say any names but that in that moment, what I was being told was, I want this space. I can't have that half hour space because I want that space. And it's just, we have to just be mindful. We just have to just be careful. I've seen instances where people have been fat shamed, body shamed, or they've been, a comment's been made about their race in a joking way, but then when the person said, actually, that's offensive, they're then told, well, they're wrong to be offended because it was just a joke, or they're wrong to be offended because of that reason or whatever. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if you've offended someone, listen, take a step back and say, well, actually, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that to offend you. It was meant to be a joke. Just, you don't have to be offended over it. Like, we're all on this app. If you see shit, just call it out.
Yeah.
Don't be part of it, because if you're not, if for evil to triumph takes good men to do nothing, and all you've got to do is just say, actually, you're out of order there. There was another incident where someone said something to someone and they said that's offensive, and the guy says, I don't give a fuck if you're offended. Now that's not okay. Like, you should be. You should care that you've offended someone.
Yeah.
So we're all on this map.
Offended. Find that person.
We're all a community. We just need to just be mindful of each other's space. And we don't have to infiltrate other people's space. It's great to collaborate. It's great to, be invited in to do something, but you don't have to, you don't have to have everything.
Yeah. Helen, you mentioned something about women, like in the workplace, and like men take some men. It's not all men. We love you, men. Everybody's
men. My best friends in the world are men.
Yes, we love the men. Some men though, they'll as you said, they'll be offensive to the woman, or be very sexist, or even, you said, even rape has occurred, which is crazy. But like, some men like seeing women mad. The assertiveness they think is sexy. It's actually a song that says you're sexy when you mad. And so it's like an R&B song, but it's like, that shouldn't be a situation that makes, like, you're not being mad to turn the guy on. It's weird. You're just trying to show that you can handle your job, you can be assertive, and you can handle yourself, And
it's like, damned if you do and damned if you don't. You can, I get what you're saying. You can't.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and you were talking about being into acting and stuff. We used to work for Paramount Home Video many years ago, back before you had the facial hair. But one of the characters I did for store openings and product releases was Deanna Troy. So I had the V-necked outfit and everything, and I'd have guys coming up to me all the time, and they'd be like, "I bet you know what I'm thinking." Yeah, like, it's difficult. You're looking right down my cleavage.
Oh, come on.
Seriously, I don't even have to have that skill.
Your response to that is, I know what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking micro penis and dusty spunk.
No, usually I ask why his wife is frustrated.
Yeah.
You know, but
We've always got to have a quick response to that.
And then I switched and I started doing Jadzia Dax, and that's when I first realized I had the muscles to do it, and that's when I was trained on the batleth. And you know, I thought this would be great. I've got a uniform now. You know, I love these, but I really don't want to spend every gig, especially around children. You got to be careful.
A power character, not
you know, and it didn't really get me much further, because now they wanted to pick a fight and make me angry and, you know, swing swords with me, and I'm like, look, dude, not worth it. You're just not worth it, you know.
Exactly.
You're right. It's just the brain's
gentlemen.
Oh shoot! I gotta head out, everybody. It's been great.
Bail?
It's nice to meet you, Melanie.
Around.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to get back on later, but yeah, I got a conference call I gotta take. Yeah.
Right,
but
see me on my show, Melanie.
Okay. Women be strong, men be strong for the women.
So we're gonna keep it going. Anybody that wants to stay, Helen, you know, you can reclaim your time that you missed there in the beginning. So everybody, please stay. We've got another guest that I would really like to be able to get on the conversation. So it's all up to you. But yeah, you know, keep going. I'm taking over.
I noticed that. Isn't it ironic? Isn't it ironic that it's been a male director for the whole day on the HAPS account? Isn't that ironic? No female director.
I made that. I made note of, and actually is going to seriously, in all seriousness, talk to everybody about that, because yeah, it's been men in here all day. So I agree.
Obviously, the HAPS team are different. It's their platform, but it's quite funny that there's no like female volunteer that's been behind the scenes. I think that's quite funny.
And I just literally jumped in because it looked like they needed help. So
right, okay.
We all need help.
In more ways than one.
And Rev, what a great choice, especially since your voice is so opposite. You know, it's nice to have that nice broad range.
We have the one viewer, Mr. Okrum, wondering if we can all see his comments. Yeah, we can see your comments. I think he's just not being.
I have missed so many comments, and I am sorry.
There's so many flying through.
Comments. Yeah. Shall we scroll back and see what we've missed and address?
We've actually missed some interesting stuff. There was a discussion about whether or not men should be able to have babies. And that I think that is great.
It just always reminds
me.
I
think so many things would change in the world if that were the case.
Yeah, definitely.
Still makes me think of Monty Python. Yeah.
Yes.
In the womb. Where's the fetus going to gestate? You're going to keep in the box.
Oh my God! You know, and that's one of the things too. Is comedy is so progressive. Comedy is actually much more progressive than you know, drama when you think about it, because you know, you just get to laugh, and the reason it's funny is because we can all relate. Yeah, it's amazing how much more comedy gets across.
Exactly. Yeah.
You could have.
Thanks to Chef.
You're welcome. But yeah, I've been kind of casually watching the comments, but yeah, no, you're right. It would. It seems we've lost Helen again. Wow. But 30 minutes to wrap. Okay. But yeah, it's just like if men could do so much more. But again, like you know, when Martin found out that his hormones were changing, and he battled it for a while, I kind of wonder what would happen if we suddenly were able to give men the ability to carry to term, how that would emotionally affect them. You know, how that would connect to them.
It would definitely be an eye opener. You know.
Helen, I re-invited you. I'm not sure what happened. Michelle, I wanted to address that question that you had about why can't we direct ourselves. Having directed lots and lots of TV work over the years, individual directors on a thing like this would be really tough because, you know, then why can't I be a director? And you know what I mean? Like to direct your own segments on something like this would be really difficult. I think we should definitely encourage women to do this. This is, you know, from my perspective, I'm just jumping into HAPS, but yeah, we need to recruit more women to be directors. We honestly need to recruit more women to do a lot of things, you know, around here in the capacities that can be served, and that's on us. That's on us guys to you know, to make that happen and to include people. So
You know, if you're going to give me an offer to come to you physically and direct, I'll be happy to.
Once the whole lockdowns have lifted, right?
He said more things around here,
More
right?
things
So
around here, yeah.
I know he meant halves. But yeah, actually, I like the fact that you're a director because it's giving the women more of a chance to talk, as opposed to having to worry about being in the position to decide what's up and what's down and who goes first and who goes second. And so I actually kind of like it. You know, it gives us more of a chance to be yappy.
Hey, Kaylee.
Hi.
Kaylee, quietly sitting there waiting.
I love
I have
the
been.
couch.
I'm still getting used to this platform, and I mean, Revolution is being my introduction to it. So every once in a while, when I can get an idea and hop on whatever he's doing before I start my show tomorrow, I like to hop in, but I never quite know what I'm getting into. So yeah, I've been sitting here quietly just wondering what the conversation is about and who's chatting right now. But I guess I'll introduce myself. My name is Kaylee Legrand. I'm up in near Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'm an actor, writer. Are you from Toronto?
We are in Toronto, yep. Yeah, we see you're in Burlington, yeah.
Yeah, I just came out to Burlington.
When
What's
COVID's
that?
done, we have coffee. When COVID's done, we have coffee, okay?
We'll come out to you. You come to us, whatever.
We subscribe to each other, everything good.
Yeah, coffee is
You're
my
all in the
language.
same industry.
What
Yeah,
is it
we're
that
both
you
in the same
do?
industry. We're special skills actors and prop makers predominantly right now, as well as speakers. We do a lot of science fiction conventions to teach people how to make their own cosplays. And the Canadian government has now moved us online to have our own store, which has been quite a challenge because we're used to people sending us drawings and then we build from the drawings. And now we have to try to guess at what people will want and have a store. But the government paid for the web designer. So we're going to give it a try. We're going to try our first online store that's ours completely, as opposed to, you know, going through another service. So yeah, Square is going to host it through one of our domains. So that's been quite an adventure. But yeah, we're production people. I've been in the industry since I was 8, and Martin about 16, about 15, 16 years
About
old.
16, yeah.
Yeah.
Getting into theater lighting in high school and working in getting into the industry that way.
So born and raised downtown Toronto, and little Brantford boy
Grew
here.
up in Brantford and
Small town
moved to
boy.
Toronto, yeah.
Big city kid, you know, big city girl, small town boy. Yeah. And we haven't killed each other yet.
No, it's
Oh,
like
that
a
is
song.
so cool.
Thank you.
That's super exciting. Congratulations. You're making a huge transition. You must be really excited to see how that's going to develop.
It's scary.
I was just going to say, excited, scared, yeah, but definitely optimistic.
You know what? I think that, or at least what I'm telling myself, especially today, because the idea of those scary sensations, I feel like I have been, that's been my day. I've had a lot of unexpected, scary moments that I'm realizing are it's a plethora of opportunities for growth. And I'm thinking that's exactly what you're up against. You're going to just go through an incredible growth experience, and I'm excited for you.
It's the guessing game that's the hard part because we're used to everything being designed first, and then we build.
So we normally work on commission, right? So
we're thinking of redesigning. We've been doing wings for years.
Fairy wings.
Like fairy wings and mechanical, so that they flap. And my Maleficent wings open up to 14 feet. And for a 5'4" woman, that's, you know, I don't lean, because if I lean, the wing will hit the ground. But yeah, so we've been doing that, but we've been doing it for ourselves. And productions don't give a damn if something's a mess as long as it works. So we've been thinking of redesigning all of our designs for our mechanical wings and seeing if we can market those. But we have to design it for a customer now, as opposed to a production where we had to set if something goes wrong and we fix it. Now we're trying to figure out how to design it that if it gets shipped to another country or another province or whatever, then they're not calling us every day asking us what's wrong. Right. So that's been a huge. That's one of the things we want to take on for ourselves. And figure out.
That is so cool. The moment that you said wings, especially, I definitely want to have coffee with you, not just because I want my own set of 40-foot fairy wings, but because I'm working on a script right now that immediately my mind went to. I'm actually about to go into production for a short film, but I'm developing a feature film that am now having all of these ideas spark just listening to the kind of effects that you are talking about that you do. I'm going to want to chat with you about for that particular project. When we get
honey,
to it.
we just moved back to Toronto recently, and it's so good to be home.
Yeah.
It is so good to be home.
Where did you move from?
Well,
we were out in BC for about 18 years, working in film and stuff out there.
So Earth Final Conflict shut down here. X-Men 1 decided to bring X-Men 2 out to BC. Total Recall 2070 shut down. When Mel Lastman put a lot of taxes, shooting location taxes, to try to make additional money. And like I was saying earlier when we first got on, being tech as well as being a performer. As a performer, people have no problems with me. Doing tech, I'm always struggling for the gig. And I always get paid less than him for doing the same job. Here's all these geeky sci-fi things that we're making more money off of in a technical aspect. And they were all shutting down because of a bunch of taxes because the mayor got greedy.
Mm-hmm.
So we packed up, we sold half our stuff, and then we brought what was left to BC. And we only moved back about a year and a half ago.
And so you came back right before everything started shutting down in Toronto, right before we went into our bubble.
All the work we came back for is not going now. So really frustrated. Wanted fairy wings for forever. Well, Kim, subscribe to us.
Mm-hmm.
If everyone wants to keep talking about, because we've got I kind of interrupted. I'm so sorry, but go ahead and continue conversation. I'll dig out a photo or two and throw them in. And we want. And there's another thing too. We did a fantasy fair back in British Columbia where we made wings for one of the guy characters, and we were really concerned at first because we wanted to do a male fairy as part of the script. And we were really concerned at first that he was going to be perceived a certain way. And he managed to carry himself physically in such a way that even though he had wings, people had no problems. Like there was very few. We expected a lot of cat calls, but there was actually only like one or two during the whole weekend. And we were actually quite impressed with it. And what we did for him, instead of doing the butterfly wings, we did dragonfly wings for him. So the mechanics, basically, they sit like a cape on his back. And then when he opens his wings, the lead ones come up, and the other ones are attached to it, so they follow. Because we wanted to make that different. We want to make that different feel between him and the other fairies, and it worked out so well just by doing a different kind of bug. People loved him. I mean, they followed him everywhere. It was really wonderful.
That's incredible. It's kind of cool that you're bringing up the idea of cat calls as well, and the fact that you do make wings and making those slight adjustments that have essentially, I would say that a dragonfly wing might have more of a connotation that's more similar to like a male energy or a masculine energy as opposed to the feminine energy of fairy wings. Like as soon as you say fairy wings, I understand what you're saying, especially when it comes to cat calls. I've experienced that without the wings and not always fun. But so it's fascinating that like with your work, you can also have such an impact as far as storytelling goes and putting prominent symbols into major projects that people are consuming, this media that people are consuming, and understanding and digesting those connotations that are associated with them and starting to blur those lines. And I guess just because International Women's Day is top of the mind for me and how we understand femininity in the storytelling that we put out there, I'm super fascinated by those nuances. That's really cool.
Hey, let's reset the room a little bit here, like on that other platform that they talk about. Everybody take a little breath and thank the Car Hungers for their hosting. And we're ready for Helen to do, thank you, some hosting. And Kaylee and DefCat, please stay. I will stay in the background as much as I can. And I think we might have another guest come too. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Car Hungers, thank you very much. That was awesome of you to join us.
Thanks,
Talk to you. And let's move Helen over there to the #1 position there.
I thought I'd already said my bit. I said what I needed to say.
Oh, you're not done. You just get to keep. You're good at this, Helen.
Do you think I'm just bubbling under the surface?
Helen,
Do you know what? My tea has been depleted. It's an empty cup, and it's needing refilled.
let me run. Let me run through Kaylee's, up through Dav, across the world, and over to you. There you go. That's not tea, is it, Dav?
I don't know which.
He's trying.
We're both trying to pass along our teas. You should never run out of tea. That was the first thing that I made for myself, especially because
no, I've consumed a whole cup and it's empty, and I need another one.
You should be like, yeah, Revolution. Where's the craft services on this show?
Right. I know it's tough when we're virtual like this, but I'll send some drivers around to bring in some food. What is that? Uber Eats.
I'm just trying to catch up with all the comments, and there are some people commenting from Periscope, and I want to address those people. Yes, we can see your comments. We cannot reply to them we can't type replies to them. So obviously, when we're in the middle of having a conversation, it's hard to interject. But yes, we see your comments. So keep sending them in. It's absolutely fine. We can read you fine.
Yeah, and I'm still learning how to respond to. Is there a way that you can respond directly to people? I see that there's an app symbol.
Only if they're on HAPS. If they're on the HAPS app, yes, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get through the comments to reply to everyone. But if they're coming in from elsewhere, the only way you can reply to that is, physically talking to the person, because they won't get the typed reply.
So when, like, for instance, Jack Torrance just made a comment and has the Twitter symbol next to his name. So does that mean he's commenting from Twitter?
Correct. But you can't type a reply to that or he won't see it.
But
he knows you've read it because you've name checked him.
Awesome.
So he knows that you can see his comment.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I should learn this because I'm going live tomorrow. So I'm still trying to.
So are you just new to the app then? So is it Kaylee or Callie?
Kaylee.
Are you just new to HAPS?
I am. I mean, I feel like I can say I'll be new tomorrow because I feel like I'm pre-new. Whatever is before new, that's me when it comes to HAPS. I'm still
super new.
I'm super uber duper new, and I'm very grateful that my podcast co-host, I guess I should mention that I also, along with acting, writing, and directing, have been producing and co-hosting a podcast called We're Totally Not Okay, which focuses on the intersection between mass media, culture, and mental health. And I've been running that for a couple of years, and it's a passion project that just kept growing, so I couldn't stop. And we took a break when midway through the lockdown, when Revolution got in touch with me, and I was introduced to this platform, HAPS TV, which I love because it's particularly set up for broadcast journalists, and that's my background. I decided that it would be really cool to take a look at how we might transition into this platform and still be able to keep the material in podcast format as well, because we do belong to a network, so we'll have to maintain that output. But my partner for that is very tech savvy.
You can download obviously you could either record the audio through a desk, or you can download the video and convert that to audio. So you can do a broadcast here and still have a file that you can later edit for your podcast without having to do two things.
So you can just download the file afterwards.
You can download the video file, and I'm presuming you can convert that, to audio somehow. There'll be an audio converter.
I know how the audio. Yep, I know how to convert files afterwards, but I just wasn't aware whether or not I would have to set up something beforehand in order to download it. Cool.
No, you should be able to just, in your profile, you should be able to go to that broadcast and download the broadcast on the desktop. I don't know if you can do it on mobile, but you can do it on the desktop.
Very cool. Women helping women on International Women's Day. Very happy about that.
This platform has so much potential. Honestly, it's really funny watching the comments, because I'm from Periscope originally. I'm a Periscope refugee, and you get the Periscope people who are used to seeing Periscope, and it's we need this, we need that. Can you change this? Can you change that? And it's really finicky little things, and you actually look at the potential of what's already on HAPS without them altering anything. And you think this, just blows Periscope out of the water. in terms of, okay, the interface is maybe slightly harder to, read from a viewer's point of view in certain ways, but those are little things. Like you look at what you're capable of here. It's got so much potential. Honestly, I think that you're going to have a great time here. If you're doing podcasting or you're doing sort of broadcasting in a way. I'm similar. I have a radio show, but because of COVID, the live station was shut down, so I'm recording from home. So although mine is music based, it's the same situation. It's you're recording through the desk or whatever, but there's so much potential for perhaps. I think you'll flourish.
I'm super excited. I never really had much experience with Periscope. And to be honest,
you weren't missing anything.
What's that?
Saying you weren't missing anything. It went right down the hill at the end.
I'm happy to hear that. I have severe FOMO, so I'm glad I wasn't missing anything on that. My friend, the only really experience that I ever had on it was another filmmaker friend of mine invited me over to watch. He had teamed up with Blumhouse and did the first live action film paired with Periscope and Blumhouse. So it was actually performed, it was rehearsed and performed like a theater play, so that it would basically they fooled a bunch of audience members into thinking something actually happened for real, when really it was actors who were putting on this staged occurrence. And he's a horror filmmaker, so it was as if the killer had basically put it out to the audience that if anybody wants to stop him before he on Halloween night goes and targets this particular house. And it was very, he's a very guerrilla style filmmaker. And so he did have people calling the cops and thinking it was real and it was a big stunt. And so that's all I know about Periscope. And I kind of stayed away from that because it was pretty extreme for my liking. But I understand his out of the box thinking with it.
I think it became a different animal towards the last couple of years. I think it became more the broadcasters just weren't supported in any kind of way from the Twitter team, and it was overrun with trolls. So that combination of those two things made it really difficult to actually have a fun experience there. And a lot of people who are on HAPS have come from Periscope, and it feels very much like the early days of Periscope. It feels like there is a community here. People are being supportive and want to see each other do well, and will jump in and help you out or whatever. Periscope was like that at the start, and then all the trolls it was too easy to make multiple accounts and have literally hundreds of accounts sitting there so that when one got blocked you can jump in with it. It was too easy. It was almost like Twitter enabled that to happen. So it's fun again. It's fun to broadcast again.
Oh, good.
And I think a lot of people are saying the same thing.
That's really nice to hear. Yeah, I think that's such a big part of it. Like you said, when you are a product maker, and especially as women, I feel like moving into the entertainment industry and moving on to new platforms, moving into new communities, there is a commonality that I've started recognizing, having conversations with other female creators who have experienced, the extra hurdles that we have to hop over because it has traditionally been a male-dominated, the entertainment industry in particular, I guess I'm referring to, a male-dominated industry. Hollywood has its, and even when it comes to different, these new platforms that are popping up, they are the opportunities for those who don't want to be contained by a system that is so constraining, I suppose.
I understand what you're saying. In the traditional sense, there's a power play. Okay, those at the top, those the ones that are in charge are predominantly male. So you are in a position, whereas on what this does is it levels the playing field.
Yeah, and I think that those at the top, because the ratio, yes, is still very male heavy. I think that that's probably just because of historically and the evolution and the time that it did take for them to rise to the top. So it makes sense, and I understand that. However, I am also grateful that a lot of the people who, at least people that I've been connecting with who are in those positions of power, who are also cis male, are the mentality, the zeitgeist is changing, and they don't have the same kind of domineering influence, and they are creating more spaces and opportunities for women. I mean, I'm pretty sure that correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that the app creators of Haps TV are male, if I'm not mistaken, and take a look at what we're able to do right now on International Women's Day, which is incredible. There are spaces opening up.
To be fair, I was thinking about this earlier. I know that Lucia is a really treasured member of the team, but I can't think of any other female members of the HAPS team. I think it is all male. And, it's the tech industry. So again, that predominantly attracts male people working in that industry. But I was thinking about this earlier today. It is, correct me if I'm wrong, I know HAPS boys, how many ladies have you got on your team? I'd love to know.
And also thank you for having us and for creating the space.
Indeed.
It's funny, I felt that same sort of, I think I felt a fear actually earlier when this morning I was on, or midday, I was on a room on Clubhouse, another app that I think Revolution was mentioning before. That's actually where we met. And I was in a room with the Hollywood executives and expecting to chat and ask a question. And I think that the fear that I brought was just my own internal fear, was not brought upon me by anybody in the room, but I was put on the spot because of a story about singing. I had entered a room that same moderator was running yesterday, and as soon as I entered, he said, "Okay, are you ready to sing us a song just to refresh the room?" And there just happened to be a Broadway singer named Kaylee who was also in the room, and she was the one who was supposed to be singing, but I fully assumed he was asking me to sing. And so we were chatting about this, and he's like, "Oh, so you sing?" And he put me on the spot and made me sing today. And it was that same fear of, I think maybe because it comes from that place of maybe a similar place to thinking, I almost have to prove myself to belong because I wasn't expecting that, and being put on the spot. It's like, now here's your opportunity to shine. It was an interesting moment, and one that now I want to do.
Sing? That's the key question.
What's that?
Did you sing?
I did. I sang like a couple of lines to a song that I think kind of like
a storm in the room. Did you get them all, happy clappy?
I started singing a Disney song, actually. I think because the other Broadway singer, like, that's sort of what the tone was that she was singing. And for some reason, my brain couldn't think of any other song at the moment. I'm like, I don't know any lines, but for some reason, a Cinderella song came to me. So I started singing, what is it? A dream is a wish your heart makes. And then I sang like a couple of lines and realized I don't know any of the lines. So I stopped.
No matter how your heart is breathing, if you keep on believing. Take it away, Kaylee. Take it away. Finish it off.
Oh, no. I would want to sing something completely different now. I am so not in the mood to be a Disney princess. Especially with International Women's Day, I have now put on repeat. I don't know if you know the song by Desiree Gotta Be.
You'll have to sing it and refresh my memory.
Oh God, I asked for this. Do I have to pull up the lyrics?
Do you know what's very frustrating about this app, Haps Boys? I hope you're listening. It's impossible to do karaoke because of the delay. You need to get that so everybody can sing at the same time. That's your next challenge. Get it on your roadmap.
Okay. Haps team, this is our cry for karaoke. And it's going to be songs music. Listen as your day unfolds. Challenge what the future holds. Try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears, Go ahead, release your fears. Stand up and be counted. Don't be ashamed to cry. You gotta be bad. You gotta be bold. You gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard. You gotta be tough. You gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool. You gotta be calm. You gotta stick together. All I know, love will save the day. Herald what your mother said, reading the books your father read, trying to solve the puzzles in your own sweet time. Some may have more cash than you, others take a different view. My, oh my, hey. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stick together. All I know, love will save the day. Hey, hey, hey.
Woohoo! Round of applause. I've missed so many comments. Let's scroll through them and see what we've missed. Presumably, hopefully, it'll all be praise.
Jump in, Dab. Someone's saying jump in. You gotta sing now with me, a duet.
It's impossible until they fix the lag.
Soon. I'm probably gonna try to force my guests on my show tomorrow once I start the podcast up on here to just see what happens with it'll be a monstrosity.
I want to see this. I hope I'll be there. I'll be watching.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, I feel like it fits with the title of our podcast show. It's called We're Totally Not Okay. So we've given ourselves the license to just do everything wrong.
Oh, crikey.
Karaoke time. Yes, people are into the karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're starting a motion. People are going to be signing a petition to get the HAPS team to make karaoke.
I think they've got so many things that they're working on, but we can just add to the list.
Yeah, you're not.
It's not like they've got like tons of other stuff to do first,
right?
Okay. As female entertainers, are you all able to support self-fund, or do you need corporate sponsorship to make a living?
Is that a question in the feed here?
As a question in the cheap seats, as I like to call them. Do you want to respond to that, Kaylee?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the question. Can you read that?
JG Walsh, I'll read it out. As female entertainers, are you all able to support self-fund, or do you need corporate sponsorship to make a living?
Oh, that's a great question. Absolutely other streams of income, especially with the projects that, like now that I'm moving into larger and larger budgets for the projects that I'm creating, yes, I look towards not just sponsors, but deals with distribution companies that are going to secure financiers. It's kind of usually I'll get my manager or publicist to help secure those deals, because as far as doing festival runs with projects and then trying to get it into the hands of distributors or buyers, those sorts of approaches, they'll work if you have made a short film and you were able to raise just enough money to make that. But a lot of the times when you're moving into other bigger projects, you want to secure the money up front, because it's not a viable strategy to try to self-fund project after project and still expect to find that kind of growth. Now with the podcast, for instance, that I have, that has been almost entirely out of my own pocket because it was a passion project. And naturally, I guess organically, we started having sponsors approach us. So it wasn't intentional, I suppose, to develop an income stream with that project. But as far as my filmmaking goes, and as an actor, there are very few projects that I take on that are not paying anymore. So those ones have to be very special, or for directors or filmmaker friends that I really love.
And how are you finding that COVID has affected that? Because, as a creative myself, with fingers in multiple different pies in that regard, it's affected everything in the creative industries. I work with bands, the gigs have all been cancelled, the venues are all shut down. How are you finding that you've been affected financially by the COVID situation?
There was definitely a huge pause. I think because I have multiple income streams, and those were also affected. I ran a studio in the West End of Toronto that I just didn't feel safe operating. Even before we went into an incredible lockdown, I didn't feel safe operating at the same capacity that I was running the space for. And there were a couple of different uses that, I'm also a photographer, so I was making a good chunk of my income that way, and having other podcasters come into that studio to utilize it, even just at discounted rates through the network, if they're being recommended through the network that we're already a part of. But it was starting to develop outside of that. We were having other films come and book out the studio and use it for shoots. So I had other income streams that kind of affected everything. And as far as acting went, yes, there was a scramble and a halt across the boards. But oddly enough, and I'm in a very fortunate situation. Even though I've had so much disruption, I've been very safe. I've always had a roof over my head. I've always had food on the table, and I haven't had to worry about that because I do, as a writer, I get to work from home, and that income stream didn't stop for me. So I have been secure, and I also have been able to quickly adapt to the virtual process for auditioning. I'm also fortunate enough that I have good equipment for audio voiceover auditions because of my passion with the podcast.
Yep.
So personally, I've been in a fortunate and albeit even sometimes fun situation. I do admit that a lot of that fear that I was talking about before started coming back to now having to learn a different process to approach the craft. And even with my short film, it is sometimes a little bit more challenging to bring our production team together to have our meetings, but we have, Zoom and these platforms to now connect that we're finding solutions. Just like I'm assuming, you've transitioned to broadcasting from home. Everybody and the earlier guests reorganizing their entire business to fit a new world that we're stepping into.
I hate the phrase new normal, but we seem to be brainwashed with that new normal. We've all had to adapt in some way. You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Michelle Alexander, just saw my name mentioned. Good that you're multifaceted and able to pivot during these times. Pivot's a great word. And you know what? I'm glad that you're using that word. Yes, pivoting is super important especially to recognize that you do have other opportunities or other talents or other strengths or other income streams, just even other connections, like now getting you on this app, and this was not going to be my night. I think I would have had kind of a sadder night tonight. Like I was exhausted, and I got in from a run. I was literally on a run when I was texting with Revolution about coming on, and my energy was I was drained. And the idea of pivoting, it was like a spark moment. It was like a Malcolm Gladwell blink moment where I'm like, yeah, I can either go home and be exhausted and probably crawl into bed, or like watch a movie that will help me cathartically cry something out that I probably need to release, or I can be a succubus and come meet wonderful women and just feed off of your energy. And so,
and the coffee will have helped as well. I see that you've still got your cup in your hand, and I'm still depleted. It's not fair. I'm going to go through. There are so many comments, and I've got 40 new comments at the moment. I haven't read them, so I'm sorry, guys. Okay. Molly B says, I wish Hollywood would cast actual LGBTQ plus actors in LGBTQ roles and make more movies and TV shows with us in them with roles. That makes sense. Michelle Alexander says, women in tech and people of colour in tech need to get opportunities in education and recruitment. JJ Walsh, I know a lot of men who are able to make a living on YouTube and other online platforms, but very few women doing it successfully to fund themselves. And obviously, I would like to chime in there. There's an expectation somehow that if women are putting out content, it has to be sexual in some kind of way. You know, there's an assumption that a woman's OnlyFans will be, you know, nude or implied nude, but it's okay for a man to, you know, put out content that's not that. You know, there is a disparity there. There's an assumption and an expectation almost. I don't know if anybody else would like to chime in on that while I read through the rest of the comments.
I mean, Dav, I don't know if are you having audio issues? Can you chime in? I don't hear you. Oh, you do have.
I don't hear her either.
Okay.
Maybe refresh your browser, maybe, Dev.
Yeah, maybe you refresh your browser, I suppose.
Oh, that's just my Wi-Fi dipping out. I'm still here.
Okay. I'm like, are we refreshing devices?
Sometimes the camera just disconnects for a split second and then comes back.
I thought maybe you were going to get a cup of tea.
No. I wouldn't leave you here alone to do that. That's harsh.
But that comment, oh, Dav, can we hear you now?
Let's see. Can you hear?
Yay!
Yay!
Yeah. Did you want to chime in on the comment about that differentiation?
Well, I do political analysis and commentary mostly on my Periscope show, but my husband always jokes that clearly to monetize what I do or to make it more popular, I should be taking my shirt off or doing something. That's just.
Oh, wow.
What did you say, Helen?
I said open bobs, show bobs.
Show bobs.
Show bobs, because if you said boobs or breasts, the Periscope would catch that and it wouldn't allow the comment to come through. So you'd got all these Turkish men coming and saying show bobs, open bobs.
Wow, I never had that. I did have one person say, lucky. Can we see pictures of your feet?
Oh, that was the feet. Yeah. No, I can't believe you haven't come across open bobs. That's a running.
No bobs.
Oh, okay.
I think that I'm going to start calling them bobs instead of boobs because that's just shocking. But the fact that you're mentioning feet, which has always weirded me out, I made the mistake one night of my friend and I started Googling ourselves. And there's like a wiki feet. There are pages that are actually dedicated to feet and people who have foot fetishes. And I have a page apparently on there that someone has collected like every image that has my feet in them.
Creepy.
Like, I guess everybody has their own thing, but yeah, I was not feeling super comfortable about it.
It's even worse. Not only is it creepy, but you're not getting paid for that content. On an OnlyFans somewhere.
At least send me a pair of Jimmy Choo shoes. Like, what am I getting out of this? Yeah, no, I absolutely, I feel, from my own personal experiences, that pressure, being a woman in the industry and the expectations, especially for the ratio of auditions I've gone into that are more so leaning towards cheerleader number 3 or something that is just, it's done, people. Let's be better storytellers because I don't even think the viewers find that interesting anymore. Let's get more interesting with our characters, with the heroes of our story. I want to play gremlins in everything I do. Someone cast me as a gremlin, please.
Yeah, bravo. I think
Oh, well, if we're closing down for International Women's Day, then maybe I can say this point that I've been itching to talk about as well, which is female villainry. Because I think the cultural representation of female villains has become a lot more interesting over the last few years. And I think that's feminism driving the more fuller embrace of our humanity, that men can be soft and emotional and women can be hard-ass, outright villains, and that we need that to shatter the expectation glass of women's being the guardian of all that is good and pure and nice. Because even if people don't intuitively see that, it's a restriction, it's a constraint, and it results in things in the legal world, such as women getting much more punitive, longer jail sentences than men for the worst crimes. So women who murder their partner have an average of a 12 to 15 year jail sentence, and men have an average of a 3 to 6 year jail sentence. That's the figures I think I came across the other day, just because it's seen as such a horrific aberration for women to kill, whereas a man does it. It's like, oh, yep, well, you must have been under duress, 3 to 6 years for you. And that would be a nice area to have more recognition of our fully rounded humanity.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I love that you brought that up in particular, because that concept itself is at the heart of the feature film that I'm writing. And I would love to see more stories that fill in the gambit between the mythological dichotomy that we have of either being the Madonna, pristine and virginal, and the Maleficent or Medusa or pure sadistic red scarlet type witch. It's like you only have those two categories that, mythologically speaking, have been presented to us as our options. And there is just so much more interesting matter to play within those nuances in between. And I think that we're...
And even outside of acting roles, I think there's so many relationships that are probably ruined by men having that Madonna whore complex, where they either have to see women as pristine and pure and worthy of chasing, and then once they've married someone, they're like, well, I can't have I can't have sex with you because you're the Madonna person, and I have to go outside and have relationships with other people because that's how I gratify my base emotions with a whore, and then keep the Madonna who I've married. And it's like, oh, that's not very good for relationships. And that's another limitation of that patriarchal dichotomy of we can be one of these two things, that we're denied that full gradation of experience and being.
Oh, I'm going to want to have you on my podcast. I want to talk so much more about this.
It's unfortunate that we have so little time and that we're wrapping up, and that I think we need to do a whole show just on that topic.
Yes, please.
And I would love to contribute to that if you decide to go ahead and do that, because there's a lot to be said, but that I can't say right now.
Yeah, I would love both of you to come onto the podcast.
So much that I would love to come. Thank you.
We've been directed by the powers that be to
wrap it up.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh, we had a double. Okay, wrap it up, everybody. Come to my show here in 15 minutes. We'll keep the dialogue going if you want, or do it another time, or do it with Helen. But I'm getting out of here. I'm not wrapping this up. You guys wrap it up.
Thanks,
Rev. I'll keep the conversation going post-show. We can do that. I'm going to continue this conversation, hopefully with Kaylee and Helen on the podcast on another occasion, and we're going to spend an hour talking about the Madonna whore duopoly and how women can be limited by positive stereotypes as well as negative stereotypes. So much to talk about.
So much, and just not enough time.
No, and so are we wrapping up right now, finishing the show?
I believe that we are. We fried someone's brain. I'm terribly sorry that that's happened. Need more coffee. Coffee's always the answer. Okay, folks, we shall. What else is there to say? Wrap up quickly with your details, your name, where people can find you, and all that kind of stuff, and tell them, where to hunt you down. And we'll say cheery bye, go.
Sure. So, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me tonight for International Women's Day. You made my day. I'm so happy that I was able to pop on. My name's Kaylee Legrand. I'm an actor, writer, director up in Canada. And if you'd like to get in contact with me, I'm, I guess, more prominent on Instagram and Twitter. Those are probably the easiest channels to reach out and follow me there. I would love to hear from everybody, and I'd love to be back and have you guys on my show tomorrow or afterwards. Tomorrow we're starting, so afterwards when I figure it out.
So can we type in the comments what your social media? Are you the same name on all social media, or?
I think so. I just put in my handle, which I'm gonna double check. See, this is why I need a publicist, because I clearly.
Do you have your social media connected to your profile? Can people find it on your profile page?
I think so. I think my Twitter is connected, and if I was savvy enough to.
There we go. Car Hunger's done it for you. Thank you so much. That's fabulous.
Thank you.
I am obviously
You're
a
a
lady on here that you can see, and you can find me elsewhere by searching for Radio Leggy on the interwebs. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been, how long has the marathon been running? Is it 4.5 hours? Was it a double marathon? Peter, Pablo, how long has it been going? Has it been going all day? Anyone?
Bueller.
I'm waiting to find out how long it's been going. This particular broadcast is 4.5 hours, but so was the previous one 4.5 as well? Anyway, it's been going the whole day, so 10 hours. There you go. So for those of you who joined in the audience in the cheap seats, for those of you who were, in on the call-ins, thank you all for taking part. Hopefully this could be a thing, or maybe there will be no need for International Women's Day. Who knows what the future may hold. But thanks for popping in. Who's closing it down? Rev, are you still in the driving seat? Or the Haps team closing it down?
See him.
Fabulous. Thanks, Haps. Okay, guys. Lovely to see you. Fantastic to meet you, ladies.
Lovely to meet you, Helen and Kaylee. Thanks for womening it up on women.
Thank you. Bye.